Daria Albinger, ABC News.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. Bear Lake Watch is taking a victory lap after getting a bill passed through the Idaho legislature that recognizes Bear Lake benefits and provides for its protection and preservation. According to Claudia Cottle, a Bear Lake Watch member pushing the bill with her husband David, Idaho Senate Bill S-1112 passed unanimously through both House and Senate. It was signed by Idaho Governor Brad Little at a signing ceremony last Wednesday. The action will put Bear Lake into the same category as other prize and protected lakes in the Gem State. She said the bill is a strong statement that Bear Lake should be preserved for all generations to be able to know and enjoy its inherent qualities. The lake will be preserved for its natural character even while it is used to aid irrigation production and power generation. KBNU News Time is 4:06. KBNU weather for tonight. Still the winter storm warning for the next couple hours, still in effect till 6 o'clock this evening. Could see a couple more inches of snow tonight with some snow showers, low around 20. And then a 50% chance of snow showers still with us on Wednesday, but becoming partly cloudy and the high temperature in the lower 30s. And then sunny around 40 on Thursday. It's been 29. It's 28 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Adams Wealth Advisors. Expect specific guidance from advisors that adhere to principles of honesty, professionalism, and integrity. Visit adamswealthadvisors.com to schedule a time with an advisor today.
When you buy Napa Auto Parts, you're getting the best. Pull into any one of the 5 locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts stores. They'll not only make sure you get the right battery or wiper blades, but they'll even help you install it. And if you need other work done, they can recommend a dozen Napa Auto Care Centers with ASE certified technicians. That's Napa know-how.
KBNU News Time is 4:07. Carson Jorgensen will soon be leaving the position he currently holds, being chair for the Utah Republican Party. But last week he announced a big name for the upcoming state convention before he goes.
Something I've been working on here for about 6 months now, and thanks to a few people who helped me get it over the finish line, but it's just been a big pull to get Governor Ron Desantis from Florida to come and headline our convention, but we're super excited about it.
On KBNU's For the People program last week, he talked about how they were able to attract the potential presidential candidate.
He came out and did a fundraiser earlier on this last year, and we were able to, they raised quite a bit of money here, and so out of their good graces, I believe that they figured, you know what, I think it's time to pay a lot of attention to Utah, and Utah is going to become a player, and I hope that Utah is just not something that gets overlooked from here on out, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put Utah on the map. Sure. To make sure that the national media, that we are not flyover state, that we're somewhere where people need to come and see and play.
Jorgensen said his main focus was not in getting DeSantis the presidential candidate, but more as governor of Florida and what he's done in that state. The Utah GOP organizing convention will be held April 22nd at Utah Valley University in Orem. And Utah's statewide average for snowpack is now 201% of normal, according to the Department of Natural Resources. The latest round of storms pushed the statewide average over the 200% threshold. It's a boost to a state that has suffered through years of drought and a shrinking Great Salt Lake. Laura Haskell, the drought coordinator for Utah's Division of Water Resources, said they were hoping for a good year, but nobody anticipated this sort of year to have the whole state doing so well. The Great Salt Lake has already risen 3 feet in the southern arm as a result of the good snow, and as part of that, part of the state, and actually no part of the state is listed in exceptional drought, according to Haskell, but it does not mean the drought is over. Last year, Utah relied heavily on reservoirs in the drought. Spring runoff will help recharge those and help boost the Great Salt Lake. Haskell said conservation is still important to ensure an adequate water supply for the state. While flooding from the spring runoff is being anticipated, it will be nowhere near the catastrophic floods of 1983 in Utah. That's because of significant infrastructure changes since then. KBNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Due to continued snowfall, officials are intermittently closing sections of Logan Canyon, US 89 this afternoon. UDOT Senior Communication Manager Mitch Shaw said the canyon will be closed in sections for avalanche mitigation work. Utah Highway Patrol Sergeant Cade Brenchley said the troopers will be placed at the mouth of the canyon on both the Cache and Rich County sides and be turning away all through traffic during the mitigation work. Now, the avalanche crews will be focusing on two areas, the Dugway and Beaver Point. Motorists who are headed to parts of the canyon before the impacted areas will still be allowed past the roadblocks.
DD Auto and Salvage is going to pay you $400 for every junk vehicle. Your junk car is worth a guaranteed $400. DD Auto and Salvage will pick up your junk vehicle for free and pay you $400. Clean up the farm, haul away the truck, and get big bucks today. Call DD Auto and Salvage at 787-1204.
That's 787-1204.
For pickup of your junk vehicles today. Every vehicle's worth $400. DD Auto and Salvage. Call 787-1204. See store for details.
Some companies will quote you a lower price just to get you to commit to having them perform a service for you, but not John Hanson, the Duck Hunter. When you see coupons or prices advertised for services, we highly recommend you call and ask a lot of questions. Find out what other costs might be added, what type of equipment and experience they have, and what you can expect from their finished result. This tip will get you better service and a good price. For a free consultation on air duct cleaning and dryer vent line cleaning, call the Duck Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duck Hunter. To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Tuesday, March 4th. I'm Jason. April 4th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter, producer here.
If you would have said January 4th, I would have said you're right. It's January 4th.
It's been one of those days. It's been a long day already. A lot of snow removal this morning, then trying to work, and I'm already worn out. I'm so worn out I've got the readers on already. I usually don't have to go to the I've reached that age where to see things up close I need the reader glasses, and I usually don't have to go to them until the evening as my eyes start to fatigue through the day, but I'm already there today. But
tired eyes.
Yeah, just it's been a long day of staring at screens. It's interesting. There are jobs that are very sedentary. Software development is the example I always use. Very sedentary. You're sitting there, and it's a high level of concentration job. So people who do that job oftentimes don't get up once an hour and stretch and move around a bit as recommended. unless they have timed breaks. But a lot of these companies try to have a more loose working environment. So, and many of them working from home, and so they'll work sometimes hours at a time trying to solve a problem, very invested in solving the problem, and not realize how much time has gone by. And you don't think of that job as a fatiguing job because you're sitting in a chair. And this is one of the reasons I couldn't do that job. But the effects of staring at a screen all day, I was thinking about this with Utah's push to do something to deal with, which is a push that's kind of getting picked apart and shredded by the research and reality that's out there. But it has started a conversation, at least. And so I was thinking about this push to do something about social media. And as the governor put it, well, the governor said it's killing our kids. And many experts have come forward now and said, well, is it? They're stressed. There's some data out there that is very concerning when it comes to lack of feeling of hope and for the future or for even the immediate in young people right now. But there are a lot of potential causes of this. Regular active shooter trainings at school, for example, one person pointed out to the governor at the press conference. That could maybe be a factor, you think? I guarantee it is. So we, as I've said many times on the show, I think my concern about these bills, the main concern for everyone should be they're likely unconstitutional, and the legislature and the governor should take some demerits for that. Because it seems like it's easier for our legislature to kind of ignore that these days than it ever has been. So that's not a good thing. But my practical or functional concern of these bills, I worry that we're going to pick a solution, ram it through, and then pat ourselves on the back while having not actually done anything about it. So with that in mind, I started doing a lot of research, as much as an amateur can, on what other research is being done out there when it comes to social media, the internet, and Gen Z. And I found this, but this actually applies to adults too. So you've all you've probably heard this in passing, that the blue light emitted from certain types of screen has an effect, and when it hits your eyes and in your body, it has an effect that can be detrimental to your sleep patterns. It can reduce brain activity, actually. So now a very popular thing now, especially back to software developers, people who sit in front of screens all day, or someone doing an intense data entry project, something like that. They'll wear these blue blocker glasses.
I have friends that do that.
Yeah, and they work. They block they're not, I wouldn't describe them as harmful light rays because they don't harm you, but the effect they have is to sap you of this pretty important biological component in your body. That's a combination of chemicals and hormones. It leads to people turning to melatonin supplements to offset this. And so just a little bit of interesting trivia to begin here today. There is some research on sleep and young people and screen time. The amount of time staring at a cell phone screen or a computer screen, a laptop, tablet, whatever it is. And here's what I can gather. Again, this is an amateur approach to the research. This is everything I've been able to read over the last 2 weeks. Anytime I had a chance to read, just reading as much as I can, understanding that the governor is going to keep hammering on this and fight for these bills as they inevitably die in court. This is what I found. It's not great for you. It's not as harmful as some would paint it either. But the biggest problem seems to be, well, actually, let me put it this way. The easiest solution seems to be setting aside a 2-hour window before your average bedtime where you are not around screens. And this can include, and this I found really depends on the size of the TV, but a large flat panel in your bedroom is not a great thing. Now, having it in there isn't a big deal, but having it on, many people, and I do this actually, you maybe you start something and fall asleep, and it just, TV stays on through the night. Maybe you watch something, you watch an episode of whatever show you're in the middle of, shut it off and go to bed. Either way, you're actually putting your sleep at risk by doing that. So there you have it, a little screen trivia related to my need for the blue blocker magnifying reader glasses today. Just don't do it for a couple of hours before bed, especially if you've already spent the day staring at a phone screen, and it adds up more than you think too. I think a lot of adults out there probably think their exposure to the blue light of a screen is low because they're not sitting there playing video games or on social media all day. But a lot of research has shown that the number of times a person pulls their phone out and looks at it throughout the day actually adds up to hours in front of a screen. But again, that in and of itself isn't going to hurt you. The biggest risk is the effect it has on your sleep patterns, and you can eliminate that risk almost entirely, even if you stare at a screen all day, just by shutting the screens off for a couple of hours before bedtime, which is, I don't know, a great time to read a book, and not one on a screen. Like an actual physical book, you can still buy those. All right, there's your random trivia from Jason for the day. On the other side, we'll officially get the show started with your headlines and smooth jazz right after this.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Is Randy Adams there?
That's him.
My name is Will Feelright. I'm calling to give you a $40 gift card to Firehouse Subs.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
No, we want to thank you. Someone contacted our radio station saying how you're an amazing deputy. How long have you been with the sheriff's office?
Been about 9 years.
What division are you in?
I'm in the jail division.
Well, Randy, thank you for what you do and going above and beyond in our community.
Well, thank you.
Submit your nominations for the Above and Beyond Salute by visiting kvnutalk.com.
In the vast ocean, there was room for only one victor.
Pull her broadside, men! Brace yourselves!
Many would never come back.
For the Queen!
But those who did would be legend. This epic battle for destiny will have to wait until after it rains.
But, Dad, we're winning.
I don't want to get wet.
Dad, we're at sea.
Well, maybe we can storm the kitchen.
Children who spend time with their parents are less likely to drop out of school, abuse drugs or alcohol, and are more likely to finish college. So imagine what a little time can do for your family.
To the deli!
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Coming up, our friend Giselle Madrid, director of the Cash Senior Center, is going to be joining us. They've got some announcements, some really cool events planned, and I'm just going to go ahead and spoil one of them right now because I think this is so cool. But they have pool tables now and pool tournaments.
Cool.
At the Cash Senior Center. I hope I'm not letting some secret out of the bag there. They've only had them for a bit. But what I learned and what led to me reaching out to Giselle to talk about what they have planned upcoming at the Cash Senior Center, I learned that around 10 a.m. every morning, there's a group of guys that show up there at the Cash Senior Center and have some, as it was described to me, pretty competitive pool tournaments. I think that's so cool. So we'll be talking with Giselle Madrid, again, director of the Cash Senior Center, on the other side of the news this hour. Right now, though, it is officially time to get things underway with our contribution to the news cycle while keeping the temperature at least lower. It's your headlines and smooth jazz. On this day in history, Francis Drake completed a circumnavigation of the world on this day in 1581. He went through, if you have read the history, went through 3 full cruises. That's right. Between just attrition at the ports, death and disease and more, 3 separate full cruises required to help Drake make this historic circumnavigation of the world. On this day in 1818, the United States Congress adopted what we now know as the official flag of the United States. 1818. Los Angeles, California was officially incorporated as a city on this day in 1850. And Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on this day in 1968 in Memphis. By the way, if you have never had a chance to read King's final address, speech, it was actually a sermon given at a church. Probably one of his most impactful speeches ever, and unfortunately not often quoted, given just about 4 days before he was assassinated, again on this day in 1968. On this day in 1973, the World Trade Center in New York City was officially dedicated. And on this day in 1974, Hank Aaron tied Babe Ruth's home run record of 714. Famous birthdays today. Poet Maya Angelou, she was born in 1928. Anthony Perkins, actor. Robert Downey Jr., also an actor. David Blaine, magician, born on this day in 1973, and the late Heath Ledger, born on this day in 1979. In the headlines today, it was actually a series of headlines, and it happened pretty rapidly. Florida Governor Ron Desantis is the keynote speaker at the upcoming Utah Republican Party organizing convention on April 22nd. Last week we spoke with Republican Party outgoing Chairman Carson Jorgensen. He talked to us about how they were able to make this happen, and he stressed, although everyone knows it is, that this is not a presidential campaign tour. DeSantis on a book tour, and he'll be talking about his book and other things as the keynote speaker at the Saturday event, April 22nd, the organizing convention for the state party. This morning, Salt Lake Tribune's Brian Schott reported that a condition DeSantis has at all of his speaking events is a little hypocritical. No firearms allowed, which will include, the story said, the Utah GOP convention. DeSantis, of course, just on the heels of the tragedy in Tennessee, the school shooting there, saying that gun control measures were not the solution and that what we actually needed were more people being armed. So, of course, for him to then say, but no guns at the permits where I'm speaking, he deserves the criticism for it. Once the story was published, apparently the backlash, not from the public or the media, but from Republican delegates, led to a change of mind very quickly by Utah Republican Party leadership. And as of an announcement just an hour after the story was published today, the rules were changed. And those with a concealed carry permit, only those with a concealed carry permit, will be able to bring guns into the convention site on April 22nd. So, to get a concealed carry permit. So Utah is a state now that allows permitless carry, as it's called. But you can still get a concealed carry permit, which is required even for certain jobs. And the reason is that to get a permit, a concealed carry permit, you must be 21 years or older and submit to a criminal background check. And so that was the compromise, I guess, they came up with. DeSantis' crew saying no guns allowed at his speaking engagements, period. Utah GOP saying, guys, you're putting us in a tough spot here. We look like hypocrites. And coming up with a compromise where guns in general will not be allowed. There will be a magnometer at the, magnetometer at the event itself, and they will be checking for concealed carry permits for those who do try to enter the event armed. So that, again, was about 2 hours where this all took place. The story was published within an hour. The Utah GOP had said they were talking about it, and then an hour after that, an announcement. So Morgan Stanley analysts raising some eyebrows and alarm today, warning of a housing price crash, quote, worse than in the Great Recession. This came on the heels of a growing chorus of investors and economists who are warning of a looming crisis in the real estate markets, which, again, triggered the Great Recession. Started without anyone noticing about 2007, became really noticed in 2008, but it was a presidential year, so that slowed things down a bit. And then by the end of 2008, we were bailing out these banks that had been brought down by some really bad investment decisions entirely tied to the housing markets. Morgan Stanley analysts said they are seeing the exact same conditions today. Analysts, again, joining a chorus of investors and economists raising this alarm for the commercial real estate sector, facing challenges more than 2 years ago in the pandemic, and challenges that they just haven't really ever dug out of. Lisa Shallett, Chief Investment Officer at Morgan Stanley Wealth Management, wrote in the weekly Global Investment Committee note issued yesterday, commercial real estate, already facing headwinds from a shift to hybrid remote work, has to refinance more than half of its mortgage debts in the next 2 years. This is going to be quite the hurdle for them to achieve. In the report, they said more than 50% of the $2.9 trillion in commercial mortgages are going to need to be renegotiated by banks and main investment holders over the next 24 months, which could send rates up to 350 to 450 basis points upwards of where they are now. Not great news. We'll see. Last time, for some context on this, last time Morgan Stanley analysts sounded this warning, thankfully they were wrong, but it isn't always that they're wrong. They nailed the Great Recession before anyone else did. Controversy over a gas station in a proposed gas station in Sugar House. But it's one that the Kempsey Gardner Institute points to, a single story that they said is emblematic of how people's attitudes towards the places they live have changed. Salt Lake City planners have been forced by public outcry, to cancel or reject a proposal to permit the construction of something that usually isn't controversial. This would be a franchise called Come and Go, and it's a gas station with minor amenities and some of them some service, but it doesn't look like that was going to be the case here. To be located on the corner, a certain corner in Sugar House, right next to the Sugar House Park. Residents said, really? So we're going to have a convenience store. You have this beautiful park, all these beautiful trails, and now at the center of it, a convenience store? The city said, well, we don't usually get involved in these types of things. If it's permitted for commercial use and someone wants to spend the money to develop it and build something there, we usually approve the permit, which is, Kempsey Gardner Institute points out, how cities have generally done business for the better part of 50 years. Analysts at the Gardner Institute, though, say in the surveying they've done, and stories like this popping up more and more, what they're seeing is the public is not satisfied with this approach. Another way to put it, said Kate Keller of the Kempsey Gardner Institute at the University of Utah, she said, another way to put it is the public is getting more picky. They realize that their neighborhoods are really important for their quality of life, for their level of activity, and in general for their happiness with where they live. And so they want cities to start being a little more discriminatory in their decisions of where to permit what. The Gardner Institute said that what they're seeing statewide is a push for cities to readdress vague and lax zoning laws, not in a NIMBYism type attitude that we've seen with high-density housing, but rather to say, well, just because we've always done it, maybe it doesn't make sense to put a gas station in the middle of an intersection, or at an intersection that is in the middle of a beautiful park and the city's largest trail system. It'll be interesting to see where this goes, because so far that has been how planning in Utah has happened. And your final headline for the day, flooding in Utah. What are we looking at? Well, I got a tip from a friend of the show, and I've posted this to our Facebook page. If you want to know literally what the situation looks like out there, check out this graph. And I would translate it this way. The cubic feet per second flowing through the Logan River right now is currently tied with 2008. Thanks, Mark, for this data. And the least amount of water flow on April 4th yet we have seen, well, at this time to date, meaning, translate that, no flooding yet. The problem is we have about between 180 and 190% of the snow that we need to have, really warm temperatures next week. And again, river levels are where they should be at, meaning river levels are where they should be at this time of year, and there's a lot more snow to melt. Not in the high mountains, hopefully, but all around us. So, again, just a reminder for everyone out there, it is going to flood. The question is, how bad? Is it just a little worse than typical? Is it catastrophic? That we won't know and can't predict. But take steps, make preparations. Those are your headlines in Smooth Jazz. On the other side, our good friend Giselle Madrid of the Cash Senior Center joining us to talk about what new stuff they have for seniors here in Cache Valley, including pool tables, right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:37, and the news brought to you by You and I Furniture. Logan Canyon has reopened. They had it closed in certain areas earlier because they were doing avalanche mitigation work, focusing on the Dugway and Beaver Point. But late word this afternoon that Logan Canyon has reopened for travel. A 38-year-old Murray man has been sentenced to prison for driving to Logan to meet up with an undercover police officer posing as a 13-year-old girl. Nathan Benjamin Allen wiped away tears as he was ordered to serve a term of 7 years to life. Allen was sentenced Monday morning in First District Court. He previously had accepted a plea agreement. According to prosecutors, Allen began messaging a Logan City police officer on an internet chat website in June 2022. He began a sexually flirtatious conversation, saying he wanted to meet in person. He also sent a video of him exposing and inappropriately touching himself on August 18th. Allen stated he wanted to meet up and was driving to Cache Valley. A location was arranged where officers were waiting when he pulled up and got out of his car. He told police he only intended to talk to the girl. During Monday's sentencing, defense attorney Kevin Sullivan said Allen had lost everything since being arrested. He described how his client got involved in something that was more powerful than he could resist and made some big mistakes. Cache County Deputy Attorney Ronnie Keller said Allen's case was more concerning than others who have been arrested for trying to meet up with an undercover officer. He explained how police later learned the defendant had been communicating with a 13-year-old girl in Colorado. The two had been sexting each other for some time. The Division of Wildlife Resources is extending the closure of many wildlife management areas through the end of the month. In an effort to protect wintering deer and other big game, wildlife management areas in northern Utah were scheduled to reopen to public access on April 8th, but the DWR is extending their closure through the 30th to help wildlife after a long winter and deep snow. The following WMAs are closed, all public access through the 30th. Locally, that's the Richmond Wildlife Management Area, also the one in Millville, Providence, and Hardware Ranch. Also, Dry Canyon Conservation Easement in Cache County. To see the complete list, go to CacheValleyDaily.com. After 2 delayed openings due to snow, Lagoon Amusement Park has plans to open this weekend. Lagoon's opening date was originally scheduled for March 25th, but because of continued snowstorms, the date was pushed to April 1st. It was then postponed again to April 8th. The state was hit with record-breaking snow levels this season, with another storm hitting the state Monday. Despite the 2-week delay, Lagoon plans to celebrate its opening in full force with special activities this weekend. The park will remain open through October 29th this year, according to their calendar. KBNU News Time is 4:41.
Most people who buy from UNI Furniture are repeat customers. They come back again and again. So it's important to UNI to sell furniture with value and quality. And UNI loves what they do. They support local manufacturers and American-made brands. UNI's line of Southern Motion specializes in reclining furniture. Best Brand Furniture offers more petite styles. And UNI just added Klosner, who has a wide range of options and takes lots of special orders. It's a family-owned 4th-generation furniture store where value and quality is and always has been offered. That's why it's always a better buy at UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
KBNU weather at 4:41 for tonight. Winter storm warning until 6 this evening. Is still a chance of snow showers this evening. Chance of snow showers after midnight. A couple inches more snow. Low near 20. And then a 50% chance of snow showers on Wednesday. But becoming partly cloudy. Maybe some sunshine tomorrow, but still cold temperatures, lower 30s. It's been to 29. It's 29 right now at KBNU. And again, this reminder, Logan Canyon has reopened for travelers after doing some avalanche mitigation work in parts of the canyon. You know, the snow is so heavy, those nasty voles had a field day in many local lawns. Make sure to call Logan Extermination to get those pesky critters under control. Call 435-752-8450. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Tammy Siemens, bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor T.J. Davis and Edward Jones. Equities closed lower, turning from positive to negative midday after a job openings report showed a marked slowdown in corporate hiring, an indication of the overall economic growth may be softening. First quarter earnings season is just around the corner, with analysts expecting a 6.6% year-over-year decline in the S&P 500 earnings per share. We will see payroll numbers out on Friday, which will further inform us of the health of our labor market, a key input into the Fed's rate hiking decisions. The Dow closed down 198 points at 33,403. The NASDAQ closed down at 63 points at 12,126. The S&P 500 closed down 24 points at 4,101. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was flat at $80.45, and the spot price of gold was up $39.30 to $2,039.70. In stocks of local interest, Thermo Fisher was up $6.11 at 576.18. Zions Bank Corp was down $1.41 at 27.71. Autoliv was down 1.81 at $91.05, and Northrop Grumman was down $1.09 at 468.10. Home Depot was down $2.77 at $294.96, and Lowe's was down 99 cents at 203. This has been today's financial market report and stocks of local interest, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor T.J. Davis, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 575 East, 1400 North, Suite 150 North Logan. If you would like more information, please contact our office at 435-753-0153 or any of the 7 local branches located in Providence, Logan, and Smithfield.
Dr. Josh Red, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
If you have low thyroid and you're taking thyroid medication, the biggest question you should ask yourself is what's causing my low thyroid specifically? If you don't know the answer to that question, it's important to call us. At Red River, we identified triggers that will cause the low thyroid to begin with. One of the most common causes of low thyroid is a disease called Hashimoto's disease. This is an autoimmune disease that is a lot more complicated than just a primary thyroid issue. This is why people will be on thyroid hormone but still feel little to no improvement because nothing's being done to address the bigger, more complicated problem, which is Hashimoto's. If you have low thyroid or you have an autoimmune disease and you're on medication and still don't feel well, call Red River.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
My hearing started to go right around the same time my wife started naming off all the upgrades she wanted done on the house. I figured it was selective hearing. To be honest, I was actually pretty upset when it was suggested that I might need hearing aids, but ultimately I knew it was time for a change.
At Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology, we can help you regain the confidence that you're hearing life the way it was meant to be heard.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Visit CacheHearing.com for details.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Moving right along with a special guest joining us this hour to talk about everything and all things Cache Senior Center. This was a listener-triggered interview. A listener emailed in and said, and unfortunately, and if you're out there listening right now and you sent this email, please call us and provide some more detail. But a listener didn't detail what event it was, said she'd recently taken part in some events at the Cache County Senior Center, and she'd had a lot of fun, and she said they're doing some really cool stuff. You need to give them a spotlight. And I realized we hadn't talked to them since before the pandemic. So I reached out to our friends there, and joining us now, director of the Cache Senior Center, Giselle Madrid. And Giselle, appreciate taking some time for KVNU today. You and I talked a bit earlier, and I told you that everyone's been talking about this, the pool tables there at the Senior Center, and the pool, as you described them, very competitive pool tournaments that have started taking place every morning. That's just the greatest example, because I think people, when they think Senior Center, they don't really understand exactly what that entails, and the Cache Senior Center kind of sets the bar, right?
Definitely. I like to tell people we're a recreation center. Long are the days of playing bingo or, sitting there and just sitting around and talking. Our individuals are active, hustle and bustle kind of go, and they are coming for all different things. And so we are a resource or a place that we can provide an activity for their interest and hoping to meet the needs of everyone.
Sure. And the events and resources offered are across the board. You can still find those, the bingo playing or the more low key events, but also, for example, just tomorrow, you have a shredding truck coming.
Right. Yes, tomorrow we're going to have
so cool.
We're going to have a shred truck. Yes, we're putting that along with our state health insurance program that we participate in with the state, which allows us to provide some Medicare counseling to individuals free of cost. And tomorrow what we're going to do is have a table so people can come and have their Medicare cards also laminated if they would like, but at this event bring all of their documents that need to be shredded so they could be disposed of properly.
Sure. Which is a really important thing these days, because a lot of documents that are used for health care or for, even just filing your taxes every year, that's also all anyone needs to steal your identity, right?
Right. And it's just a preventative method for fraud. Exactly.
This is that event for listeners. And by the way, I should throw this out right now before I forget, but follow them on Facebook if you're a Facebook user. Or if you're not, you can still access the page as a public page as well. Just search for Cache County Senior Citizens Center, and you'll find them there on Facebook, and they list all of their events. That event is tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., but again, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And Giselle, I did want to. I know you've got probably a long list yourself, but one last one for me. I kind of wanted to spotlight the event coming up. Just let's see, this coming Friday, I think, is the next one, right? This mindfulness event you do every Friday.
So on Fridays, it's at 2:15. Just one of our employees teaches does a mindfulness group, and they meet every Friday at 2:15.
This is very cool. This is building off of a book that most people have probably heard of, Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart. But this is like a skills for coping with everything life throws at you kind of thing, right?
Right. And, I don't know what curriculum he is using. I am not aware of what he is following. But I do know that in his class, I believe it's a small class. There's about anywhere from 8 to 10 participants that come every Friday, and they do meet and have that nice hour together.
This is also something worth highlighting. The Cache Senior Center, you guys like to build partnerships there. There's a Tri-County Senior Companions program. You've worked, as you told me earlier, you worked with museums recently as well on memory projects and things like that. Where do you get all of your ideas? How do you decide what goes on the calendar each month?
It's a lot of research, a lot of just thinking of, just researching, seeing what other centers across the U.S. are doing and visiting with the other senior managers in the other areas. We've got a senior center in Tremont, and there's a senior center in Brigham City, and, we all discuss. And then along with my team, I do have an assistant, and she's the activities coordinator, and she also has someone that helps along with those activities as well. And so, we're just constantly finding new ideas, trying to think outside the box of things to do, and that's where those partnerships come up. Yes, you mentioned one, a new one that we've just started is going to happen on the 12th of April with Jump the Moon. This is a new partnership that just is starting. They're going to start coming. We'll take turns, whether coming to our center or going to their center, and He's been very generous in sharing his talents with us and with our community. We're excited for that partnership.
I love that you're working with them, too, because that is I've seen, people taking part in Jump the Moon events, and it's always been hard for me not to say, can I just step in here?
Can I come in and help? I want to do this, right?
Just, as we age into adulthood, we all pretend that we're above finger painting, but we're not. When you see a bunch of people finger painting, you want to be a part of that.
Yes.
And of course, all this happens with a goal, right? The Senior Center is there to bring a higher quality of life to seniors here in the Valley through these events, and approach this, as you mentioned, in a researched, not clinical, but a researched, informed way. For those out there who have never been, Giselle, what would you say to them to entice them in for a single event or even as a regular guest each week?
Yeah, I think just looking at the calendar, finding some events that are maybe of interest to yourself. We try to promote as much as we can, whether it's through physical activity. There's classes that are geared towards that, like the Tai Chi, yoga, line dancing. We then try to do some educational classes. We've had some great partnerships with the university. We have an instructor coming this week, I believe it's next week, in which it's going to be a class on history. It's going to be from the history department. We also try to do classes that have an interest for individuals on their health, whether it's living with some type of chronic illness, whether it's diabetes, hearing loss, those kinds of things. We also have some craft classes, a sewing class. We try to help people that are in need of help with technical assistance, learning how to use their iPads. We've got a painting group that's happening on its own. Like I mentioned, also another group that kind of works on its own is a bob and lace group. There's a mahjong group. There's just a variety of things. So I think really looking at the calendar and seeing what kind of piques your interest, definitely visit us. We're there from 8 in the morning till 4 p.m. 8:30 in the morning to 4 p.m., and we would love to give anyone a tour that wants to see. We've got some computers that are available for people that would like to come and use that. We've got some treadmills and those that want to come and exercise on those. We also have a library, a lending library. People are able to feel free to come in and check those out if they like. We do offer lunch. Lunch is from 12 to 1. We do ask that people make a reservation the day before.
Sure, so you know how many are coming, right?
We know how many are coming, and it's a $375 donation. And like we mentioned, the menu is all in the newsletter, and you can access that via. You can come into the center and pick up a newsletter, or do it via the internet on the Cache County webpage.
For listeners, that is cachecounty.org/senior, or again, find them on Facebook. On Facebook, simply search Cache County Senior Citizen Center. You'll find their page. I've also linked to that Facebook page on our own Facebook page if you'd like to find it there. To reserve your spot for lunch every day of the week, 755-1720 is the number. They ask that you call by 3 p.m. If you're over the age of 60, it's very cheap, $375 suggested donation. If you are under the age of 60, you'll pay a bit more, but them's the rules. You'll pay $10.50 for lunch.
Yeah.
And again, you can see the full menu for each week on their Facebook page and at cachecounty.org/senior. Our guest again has been Giselle Madrid of the Cache Senior Center. And Giselle and I talked earlier today. I think you're going to be hearing more from these folks here on our show on a regular basis. We're still working out the details on that. But Giselle, a pleasure to have you on today and to spotlight everything you and your team are doing there at the Cache County Senior Citizen Center.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to give out one last spotlight to individuals that might be interested for future things coming up. Here in the month of May, we are going to be hosting a caregiver conference there at the Cache County Event Center.
Okay.
And it'll be May 24th from 8:30 to 4. And individuals are able to call Deborah Crowther at 713-1462. And this will be a big event that will be hosted for all individuals that are caregivers. Come and learn, get some resources there. Another one that will be happening here in May will be a Project Talk. And that'll be with Sunshine Terrace. So be looking in the newsletter for that. And this last month, just quickly, is National Volunteer Month. And we want to spotlight our volunteers that we've had this last year. We had over 7,208 hours of volunteer hours that we had clocked in. And we are so thankful to all the volunteers at the center and anyone in the community wishing to volunteer. We are always looking for volunteers for Meals on Wheels or to help teach classes, whether they be a Latin dance class or a salsa or tango. Even in light weightlifting, just anything. I would love to visit with individuals and see what is their skills and talents, and see what we can bring more activities to the center.
Absolutely. Giselle, if someone does want to volunteer, what's the best way for them to start that process? Just give you a call there at the center?
Give me a call. Yep, definitely. There is a form, and we need to have them fill out, and then we just do a background check, and we kind of see what their skills are, what their needs are, or what their interest is, and see where we can fit that into our calendar.
Very good stuff.
They can reach me at 755-1729.
This is great. Contact information and more, including the calendar, at cachecounty.org/senior. And again, you can visit their Facebook page. On Facebook, simply search for Cache County Senior Citizen Center. You can see their list of events. And as you've just seen over the last several minutes here, we started with pool tables, and we went through a long list of events. Every single day there is something going on for everyone, literally, at the Cache County Senior Citizen Center. And this is all brought to you by a team of professionals and volunteers who work very hard to put the calendars together and to run the senior center each and every day. So if you can show them your support with some volunteer time or even a donation, information on that can be found at cachecounty.org/senior. If you'd like to be a part of the activities, or if you think it's something you'd like to add to your day or week, check them out. Again, on Facebook, Cache County Senior Citizen Center, the county website, cachecounty.org/senior. And our guest, again, has been director of the Cache Senior Center, Giselle Madrid. And Giselle, a pleasure to have you join us here today.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we welcome any new patrons of the center. We're excited to meet you all, and our arms are welcome and excited for all the new, hopefully, new classes we can provide.
Absolutely. If you've never been, go give them a try. If you've been and dropped off a bit, maybe time to check them out again. A lot of new stuff going on there. And again, we'll be checking with them more on a more regular basis here on the show in the future. Thanks to Giselle. Thanks to our listeners. Hour 1 in the can. We'll be back for Hour 2 right after this here on